Ciao tutti, sono Danielle. Hello everybody, it's Danielle. Thank you for tuning in to Learn Italian for Travel. Today's lesson is going to be on nouns and adjectives and forming a question using both of those together. So we're going to talk about gender and number of Italian nouns to start off. And if you didn't know, there are nouns that are considered that are feminine, and then there are nouns that are also masculine. And it goes the same for adjectives as well. You have masculine adjectives and you have feminine adjectives, and it has to do with the noun because adjectives describe nouns, right? We all learned that in elementary school, remember? So in Italian, if a noun is labeled masculine, it has nothing to do with what we think of when we think of masculine. It doesn't look like a man, or it has nothing to do with what we think of when we think of gender. It's just a label. So masculine, feminine, and then it's either going to be singular, meaning one, or there's going to be more than one. So that would be a plural noun. So we're going to look at a few different nouns to begin with here. And these are all in the singular form. So we're going to stay with the singular form in this video. But there are a mix here of masculine and feminine. So I'm going to show you the articles that are going to go with each of these. And if you notice from the last video, we talked about cognates and similar words. A lot of these nouns are cognates. They're similar to the English word. Like the first one, Il museo, what does that look like? It looks like museum, and that's what it is. So all of these words have to do with places around the city. And the next one is il mercato, and that is a market. Il cinema, the movie theater, looks like cinema. Cinematografo is actually the real word. It's an abbreviation. And then the final for the top nouns are il bar/caffè, because you can use the same word. You can say bar, caffè. And so caffè looks like coffee. Bar looks like a bar. It's not the bar that we think of, though, when we go out to a bar to drink and dance, maybe. This is a bar more like a coffee shop, more like Starbucks, but they do serve alcohol at these bars. So look at all these nouns and notice the ending. So the first two end in O, museo, mercato. That's the typical ending of masculine singular nouns, is that they end in O. And then the next one, cinema, ends in an A. So that's an exception there. But I told you earlier it's an abbreviation for the word cinematografo. Okay, so that ends in an O. So it actually does fit the rule, but that's the abbreviation. And then the next two words are exceptions as well, because bar ends in a consonant, and then caffè ends in an accented E. So if you ever see a noun that ends in a consonant, you know that it's a masculine noun. Okay, so it's always going to be a foreign word if it ends in a consonant. And usually words that end in accented E's are considered masculine. So this is the article. Il, it means the, in front of most consonants, okay? The next group, let's look at. The first one, you can't tell what it is by looking at it. It is not a cognate. La chiesa is the word for church. And the next one, la banca, you can tell what that is. It's bank, right? And then we have la farmacia, and that is a pharmacy. There's no PH in Italian. It's replaced by F. And the last one, la pizzeria, guess what they serve there? Pizza, right? So the article uniform in all four of those is la. And that's going to be the article for all feminine nouns that start with a consonant, la. And notice all of these nouns actually end in an A, right? So that's typically the rule. If it ends in an A, then it's feminine and it's singular. So let's look at the third group for these singular nouns. We have actually we have four different groups here. The third group is an L apostrophe. And L apostrophe is going to come before all words that start with a vowel, whether it's masculine or whether it's feminine. And you can't tell sometimes because you'll notice here the ending, they're all different. So the first one, l'ospedale, can't tell by looking at it because it's an L apostrophe and then it ends in an E. It's actually masculine. L'hotel And you don't say la hotel, you make it sound like it's one word, l'hotel. So L apostrophe, the word there ends in a consonant, so it is masculine. And then the last one, l'albergo, is a different way to say hotel as well. You can say l'hotel or l'albergo. L'ospedale, I forgot to tell you what that means, but it looks somewhat like the English word. It's, can you guess? Hospital, okay? Hospital. So like I said, these are a little bit more tricky because you can't tell. Usually if it ends in A, you can look at it and say, oh, that's feminine, singular. If it ends in O, that's masculine, singular. Also, if it ends in a consonant, you know that's masculine, masculine. This one's a tricky one because it ends in an E. So if you see a word that ends in an E, with time, with studying and with familiarity, you'll learn what the gender is, whether it's feminine, masculine, plural, singular. And then the last one here, lo stadio, is, can you guess? A stadium. So lo comes before words that are masculine that start with an S and a consonant or a Z or some other combinations like a GN or a PS. Okay? Tutto a posto? Is everything? I know it's a lot of information, especially because we don't have the gender in English. So now we're going to look at some adjectives, and we're going to look at also forming questions. If you're out and about in the city and you want to ask something about somewhere that you're going, these are some adjectives that you probably will be using. So the word at the top, with the accent, means it is, or if there's a question mark at the end, it means is it. So in Italian, it's pretty great. You can take any statement and you can turn it into a question just by using inflection. So let's go through this list of adjectives and then we'll form some questions. Vicino, lontano, that's the first pair of adjectives. Vicino means nearby, lontano means far away. So if you're walking around, you probably might be asking, is the museum nearby or is it far? So all you need to say if you're asking, is it nearby, è vicino? Just use the inflection at the end. If I said è vicino, that means it's nearby. È vicino? Is it nearby? I just transformed it into a question. Lontano, far away. And notice most of these end in an O, so they're written in the masculine singular ending because we haven't made them agree with any noun yet. The next pair you might have seen already. Grande, it's the same word in Spanish too. Big, okay? And the opposite is piccolo. Piccolo is small. So grande is the only one out of all of these that ends in an E. So just like nouns sometimes end in E, sometimes adjectives end in E, and you just still have to make them agree. Okay, and let's go down the list. Bello. Bello refers to something that looks good, beautiful, handsome. Handsome because it's masculine, written with an O, but it's going to refer to an aesthetic quality of something. So if it looks good, you'll say bello. Buono is the word for good. So this has to do with the quality, the content of something. You might say a restaurant is buono, okay? And then the last one, caro. Maybe you're asking if you want to go to a restaurant, this is the word for expensive. So you might want to know if it's expensive or not before you go. So let's take all these adjectives now and turn them into questions using the nouns that we saw on the previous page. And when you form a question, you can take the noun and put it at the end, or the subject. If it's a person, you can put it at the end of the question. Okay, so you're going to start off with a, and then the adjective, and then follow it with the noun. The tricky part is that I want you to pay attention to here is that the noun and the adjective have to agree. That means if the noun is masculine singular, then the adjective has to be masculine singular. All of these I already said are singular, but we're going to talk about plurals in another video. If it's feminine, then the adjective has to be feminine as well. So the first one, è vicino lo stadio? What did I ask? Did you get it? Is it nearby the stadium? Well, we flip-flop in English. We would say, is the stadium nearby? È vicino lo stadio? Okay, the next one, now we notice bello changed to bella because chiesa is feminine. So now we say è bella la chiesa. Is the church pretty? The third one, grande, ends in E. So it's going to end in E whether you're talking about a masculine noun or a feminine noun if it's singular. È grande la stazione? Is the station big? And the last one, the same thing. Notice the difference. Grande stays the same even though the noun changes. Is the bar big? The coffee shop big? È grande il bar? Okay? And then I just wrote this little chart for you at the bottom here that when we're talking about singular nouns and adjectives, most of the time they're going to end in O, sometimes they'll end in E. Most of the time when feminine nouns are singular, they're going to end in A. Sometimes they'll end in E, like la stazione. Okay? Hopefully you can put this together when you see some nouns and adjectives and try to make them agree. There'll be more videos too on forming the plural. So thanks for tuning in. Grazie, a presto.